Locals are surfing across the Australian blue. Oh, you aren't a local. Well, shame on you. 'Cause if you don't live here, you can't surf here too. But the surfer says that I grew up here too. And the surfer is played by Nicolas Cage in all of his uncontained rage. And we have an old man that says Scally must count his days, but the surfer just wants to break through and surf across the Australian blue. The Surfer was directed by Lorcan Finnegan. I love that rainbow. If you get that reference, I love you guys. If you don't, you are monumentally confused. Anyway, he did Bavarian. No Ciebo. I mean, that one was alright. And Nightmare Radio, The Night Stalker. Okay, so maybe this film was at a handicap right away, but don't worry, the writing will save it. Thomas Martin, who did television and shorts. Okay, Nicolas Cage, carry this thing, please, for the love of God. Carry this thing on your tremendous shoulders, your great acting ability, your range. Carry this. Carry this. Take it to the distance one more time. So anyway, Nicolas Cage is playing a man called The Surfer. And a movie called The Surfer. That's a layer of detail I didn't expect from a film called The Surfer. This film received a lot of attention on film festival circuits and has received a lot of attention from early screenings from critics and audiences alike. And because Nicolas Cage was able to do Nicolas Cage things, I thought, okay, that's good. Nicolas Cage's movies are a mixed bag, in all honesty. He is a tremendous actor. He was great in Pig. Color Out of Space was great. There were a few things I didn't necessarily like. I didn't really care for Arcadian. He also wasn't really allowed to be Nicolas Cage, but he plays a surfer. He wants to take his kid called The Kid. So as far as characters, they really don't add a lot of detail here. Played by Finn Little. Oh boy, Finnegan and Finn Little. That must have gotten goddamn confusing on this set. So there's an Australian bay, a local bay. They are by the bay, as it were. Not bay like B-A-E. Why you call your significant other that, I don't understand. You kids get off my lawn. Speaking of getting off the lawn, Nicolas Cage is told to get off the beach. Even though he grew up there, he is trying to buy his grandfather's house. Some locals, led by Scally, played by Julian McMahon, who actually is the least creepy McMahon that we have seen on any television or movie program in a while. And definitely McMahon I would trust to run the government way, way more than a current McMahon there, but nevertheless, I do have to say Julian actually does play Scally very well here. There are some ties to their respective pasts. And basically, Nicolas Cage is put through goddamn hell. Some of this could have been solved with a couple easy decisions, but he does not want to relent. He ends up getting his kid out of harm, basically, but then is harassed by the locals for pretty much 80% of the goddamn movie. And it's about 100 minutes long, and while I get exactly what they were going for, the idea of super toxic masculinity, and the idea that bullying and crazy stuff and locals not wanting you around here. And I gotta say, if this is how Australians treat any people that aren't from their country, I really don't know if I want to go to Australia. No disrespect to any of the Australian people that happen to be watching this. But, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we're perfect. We are way, way, problematic when it comes to treating people that aren't from around here. I'm not, but there are plenty of people that are. So there are themes like you don't surf if you don't suffer. That kind of is a prevalent theme for this. Don't live here, don't surf here. There is an old man that kind of mirrors, what Nicolas Cage's character is going through. I'm trying to keep it as mild spoilers in there, but really this film is just about experiencing Nicolas Cage suffer heat stroke and setbacks and breakdowns of the car and mental variety. Nicolas Cage's talents carry this film far enough. Julian's talents playing Scally carry him far enough. The one playing the bum, the old man, he's not bad, I will say that. But every other character kind of just seems to be generic, and I get it. And some of this I thought maybe they were trying to present it like, okay, Nicolas Cage has just lost his goddamn mind. Maybe he was never actually super rich. Maybe he was never able to buy the house. Who goddamn knows? Who knows what the hell is actually going on? But he just wants to surf. And he's not able to because of certain setbacks. Now, yes, the idea would have been just leave, go somewhere else. Maybe not, staying up to bullies as well. But there is a certain point where maybe you have to get the local authorities involved, and maybe you actually should plan ahead when you are trying to buy a house and stuff like that. And also bring a goddamn charge cord. That would have solved a lot of goddamn problems with this. Nicolas Cage does play this character very well and does carry this film far enough. There are some cruel pranks, and the locals treat him like shit and treat the old man like shit because they're either seen as beneath them or, in the surfer's case, not from around here. That being said, though, this movie doesn't end up being as interesting as this. It's less than the sum of its parts, would be the best way I could describe it. It's decent at times. There are a few sparks where Nicolas Cage is able to do Nicolas Cage things. Unfortunately, this film, I don't think delivers the message in the way that maybe it was intended. And again, it's more of a throwback. I did love the 70s, 80s style credits and the streamlined craziness that was going on. But the thing is then it tries to shove so much in the last 30 minutes. And yeah, it builds itself well, and there are little crumbs left along, and at least it has an ending that is somewhat satisfying. The movie just doesn't end up working ultimately as well as it could have, and that's a shame because I was looking forward to this. And while I will not say don't watch it, I don't know if you need to see this in theaters, because I can see a lot of people walking out. There were 4 or 5 other people in the screening I was in, and I don't know if I see this film necessarily having a long life at the box office. Especially considering it's very artsy, it's very Nicolas Cage just being Nicolas Cage, and with the exception, really, of a couple of the aforementioned characters, it rests on his goddamn broad shoulders. Some gorgeous scenery and some good camera work and some good music, and Nicolas Cage goes absolutely mad, literally looking like he immersed himself in his heat-stroke-ridden character. But nevertheless, I am going to get into spoilers. In theaters for now, probably on streaming within the next 3 weeks. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So essentially, he's trying to buy his father's house. He's trying to get his kid, ready for this, even though it's Christmas and they're having, they're splitting. He's splitting between the time with his kid between him and his wife, who is going to end up having a shotgun wedding, as he says, because she got pregnant. She's with another guy. He finds his house, by the way, after he endures some hardships and stuff like that. At one point, he gets a surfboard stolen, and it's put on the goddamn, deal of this surfboard shop. He wants the surfboard back. The cop that looks like Australian Pedro Pascal does not end up really being much help, because it's a dude bro group. Scally actually was a friend, or Scally rather, was a friend of his back in, or maybe not a friend of his, but somebody that he knew back in school, and he remembers him. And the old man lost his dog, may have been killed by either Scally or Scally's cronies. And his son also was a really, really good surfer, but something that happened with Scally ties back into why the son is no longer there. Now, the son, they threw so much stuff in at the end. The son could have ended up, jumping off a cliff. He could end up being swimming elsewhere. Who the hell knows? Maybe they end up getting killed and he's buried at the bottom of the goddamn ocean. The old man did talk, however, about, when Nicolas Cage is starting to break down, he has some, he takes the sunglasses as collateral, and Nicolas Cage uses the binoculars, and the old man talks about how, who has the last name of Fitzgerald, by the way. I want to say Ella Fitzgerald, but I don't even think that guy's old enough for that. Nevertheless, he talks about going down there and just blowing his brains out. Not blowing his own brains out, but Scally's brains out. Just to send a goddamn message. And he drives a beat-up Subaru, and Nicolas Cage drives a Lexus. Eventually, he does end up leaving his AC on all night, wastes his battery, because it's really, really hot. Instead of just going and getting your goddamn charge cord, or bringing a charge cord with you, and just having that so you could charge your goddamn phone, then he has to rely on the kindness of strangers. He has a nice photography lady, and she does a good job in her few brief scenes. She charges his battery, takes his picture, that kind of stuff, and that picture is used as evidence a little bit later on. So basically, he's, anything that he tries to do basically doesn't work. He can't even get water because they take dog shit in a bag and cover the goddamn fountain once they see him drinking out of the water. They don't even want him doing that. There's a dog that's very, very mean. I hope the dog was actually fed on set. And the idea is Scally basically says, you basically have to lose everything to be able to get everything, to get, anything. It's kind of like Fight Club if Fight Club was written by a sea cucumber, and I'm sorry if the writer is watching this, but this is kind of like a discount Fight Club toxic masculinity thing. That's at least how I'm seeing it. So, Nicolas Cage does at one point, his car gets stolen, he's freaking out, he's covered in coffee, because this one guy was pissed off at him and shoved the coffee in his face that he was able to get. He had to trade his watch just to get a cup of coffee. He put his phone there just to get a charge because his phone died. Again, not bringing a charge, port or cord. He ends up basically losing everything. He's stumbling around. He's trying to get a hold of the guy that was going to lend him some more money so he could pay this goddamn, pay more, to get this house. Because there's apparently a lot of money. Beautiful place, I have to say, but I don't know if any house is necessarily worth this. And the local agent pretends like he doesn't know him. It turns out everybody, the cop, the agent, everybody's in on this whole goddamn thing. And the old man disappears for a while. Nicolas Cage, even at one point, is living in his car. Because his car got stolen and he's living in the Subaru because the old man skedoodled. Old man Ella Fitzgerald. And then we basically see that just finally Nicolas Cage just snapped. And there's a lot of mirroring of the old man and what, he went through and how he ended up in this position, losing his son. Nicolas Cage doesn't want the same thing to happen to him. So all this is going on. He finally snaps and hits. There's one character called Pitbull, Alexander Bertrand, who I have to say does play a good meathead. I mean, I'm not saying he is a meathead, but he plays a good meathead here. He hits him with, the sign, locals only, and just starts beating the shit out of him. I mean, and this is after Nicolas Cage has seen stuff where Scally is, treating people like cult members, a toxic, masculine cult, and has even seen live streams before his phone died of all this stuff, Scally offering, to toughen up men because they're all soft and everything. Again, the toxic masculine behavior. Nothing wrong with having feelings, by the way, guys. If you have a problem with guys having feelings, there's something really wrong with you because we can't really internalize that bullshit. But there is also a point where he finds a rat in the goddamn Subaru, and he gets pissed off at the rat and just hits the goddamn rat into the whole damn thing. Now, he's freaking out. He can't even find food. Even though Scally offers him something, he doesn't want to take it because he doesn't want to give into that and give him any power, even at his lowest. Also, earlier, the old man, after talking about blowing out Scally's brains, put a bag in the bathroom that Nicolas Cage found out later. Nicolas Cage also ends up seeing, and I'm bouncing kind of all over the place, and the movie's almost kind of like a fever dream, so I apologize if a few events are out of order and they're kind of flip-flopped around. So, nevertheless, he sees a photographer. She recognizes him, sees the picture that she took, and, he was by his Lexus, so obviously it proves that he had the car, all that stuff and everything. She offers some water, and she was a very nice lady. I mean, I don't know what really fucking happened to her after that scene, but essentially, he's just trying to basically survive. He just wants to surf. Really, the whole thing is he just wanted to surf, and Scally didn't want to let him do that, so now this whole thing's unraveled. And eventually, after beating up Pitbull with the local sign, getting back to that, beats him up, hits him, and Scally says he proved himself, so now they're going to treat him like one of them. They're going to put him through initiation, they're going to do all this stuff. This all kind of accelerates really quickly. He did actually have the rat during this thing with Pitbull and was shoving the rat in his mouth. Eat the rat, eat it. See, that Nick, be more fun like that. And you would actually have a lot more to offer movie, but fortunately the Surfer offers about that much for about that much of a movie length. It's 100 minutes long. Now, he did that, and that was actually kind of funny. Gets initiated in the whole thing, and the final initiation is to burn the old man's Subaru. So he ends up burning the old man's Subaru. The old man does return. And he had this necklace that like his son had won at a competition. It was like a shark's tooth or crystal-like thing. And he ends up, Nicolas Cage takes it out of the vehicle, which is nice. And then the old man shows up. And this, by the way, is after Nicolas Cage had gotten the gun. Nicolas Cage got the gun. He was going to shoot the dog. Thankfully, he didn't. I really would have had to downgrade the movie there, even though the dog was mean. And it's like, oh, is he going to shoot? Because mirroring what the old man was going to do, is he going to become like that? Not that the old man's bad, but is he going to give into that? And, more bullying, that kind of stuff. And then he's initiated into the group. We basically get a little bit of him asking Scally about a few things. Did you kill the old man's dog? Oh, what's going on with this? What happened to the son? It turns out this young woman that he was with was actually Ella Fitzgerald's son. I know his name's not Ella Fitzgerald. Work with me here. But the son had a girlfriend that Scally got with, and maybe that fractured him and whatever. I mean, I guess that's what happened. And apparently this all happened recently, because even though the old man obviously is disheveled and not doing well, this apparently happened within, I guess, the last few months. So the idea now is the old man finally snaps. He comes down with the bag, and it's the gun. And he ends up basically proving that he has enough bullets. I mean, he proves it's loaded by shooting a surfboard. He makes Pitbull basically beg and bark to get rid of him. Others, he says, get out of here. But Finn's kid, by the way, is back. He shows up suddenly for this final scene. And Nicolas Cage is there, and Scally is there. And the idea is he wants Scally to confess for what he did. But also, oh, Surfer, you have a kid? Well, I don't have a kid. I'm going to take him out. Surfer basically just says, we just want to surf. That's all we want to do. So they go out and surf. Don't look back is basically what he said. And Scally got capped. And then the old man caps himself. Now, Nicolas Cage sees a lot of himself there. I think kind of mirroring like a metaphor or an allegory for his dad and how his dad ended up. I'm guessing. Because again, the movie leaves more questions than answers, and it is what it is. But they're surfing. Scally gets capped. Old man gets capped. And that's pretty much it for The Surfer. It's not a bad movie, like overall, because of Nicolas Cage's acting strengths, but it is not a movie I'm going to revisit because it's less than the sum of its parts, unfortunately. So C+ for Nicolas Cage's abilities. But that's about it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Riplin. I'll see you soon.